Hello and welcome to Different Perspectives. I am Paul Ndiho. Tonight we turn our attention to Morocco, where we've tonight we turn our attention to Morocco, where a wave of youth-led protests has grappled the nation for more than a week. From Rabat to Casablanca to Marrakesh, thousands of people, mainly from Generation Z or Gen Z, have been on the streets demanding for jobs, accountability, and better living conditions. What began as online frustrations has now become a powerful movement that authorities can no longer ignore. The demonstrations are driven by leaderless collective known as Generation Z uh, 212, a reflection of a growing sense of disillusionment among Morocco's youth. They argued that the government poured a lot of money into the World Cup stadiums and tourism projects, while public hospitals struggle, classrooms are overflowing, and unemployment has soared. Joining me from Casablanca is John Githem Yao, an independent journalist who has been following these protests. He will help us maybe to unpack what's happening on the ground. Who is leading this movement, how the government is responding, and what this moment means for Morocco's future. Hello, John. Welcome to Different Perspectives. Well, it looks like John is not connecting live with us. He's maybe experiencing some technical challenges. But in the meantime, as we are waiting for him to join, I think maybe I can just dive deeper into this conversation. And in case you're just joining us, feel free to weigh in and join the conversation. Uh, Tonight, obviously, let's take a closer look at the story, at this unfolding story. It's been going on for over a week in Morocco. The youth have been on the streets. These youth led protests have shaken the Northern African kingdom. Uh, People would argue that Morocco is one of those absolute monarchs, and for the first time in a long time, they're experiencing this wave of protests, revealing a deep anger over poverty, inequality, and neglected public service. Despite the country's impressive modernization drive, for more than a week now, thousands of young Moroccans have poured onto the streets and cities alike, from Casablanca to Marrakesh, Rabat, the capital. Their message is very simple and very powerful. They want jobs, better healthcare, and a fair shot at the future. What makes these demonstrations different is who is leading them. Guess what? There is not a single person leading these conversations or these demonstrations. Apparently, these young people have copied what the Kenyans have been doing and have successfully managed to demonstrate, and the government doesn't know what to do with these young people. They are mobilizing themselves on social media, on Discord. Who thought that Discord, a popular gaming platform, could become a rallying avenue for young people to demonstrate, to organize themselves and demonstrate? So don't joke with Generation Z. These are young people who have grown up in the digital age, highly connected, politically aware, and increasingly unwilling to wait for change. They have organized online under a movement called 212. That's the country's zip code, named after the country's zip code. Are you kidding me? This is what is so different from these young people. They think outside of the box. So what we are seeing is we are seeing these young people going out there, organizing themselves, and they say, hey, it's about time we had a change. And I kid you not, they have paralyzed Morocco. This could be, and it's not just happening in Morocco. Look at Madagascar. We've seen similar protests in Kenya, across the pond in Southeast Asia. We've seen Nepal. The government, the regime was taken out about 2 weeks ago. We have a new government in place. So these young people, anybody who uh, thought that these young people cannot organize and mobilize themselves, they have to think twice and look at maybe some of these things and figure out how to address their concerns. Platforms like Discord, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and or Instagram, they have become basically the freedom uh, plazas for these young people. This is where they rally. This is where they talk to each other. This is where they mobilize themselves to talk, to address the government, which has failed to address their concerns. The protests began peacefully, but in several towns, especially in rural areas, tension boiled over. In the agricultural town of Ayet Amira, what started as a march for better services turned violent. Cars were torched or set ablaze, banks were looted, and clashes with police left several hundred injured. Tragically, at least three people were shot as they tried to storm a security headquarters, and more than 400 people have been arrested. According to officials, those protesters are now being described as the most widespread Morocco has ever seen since 2011 Arab Spring. You remember that? That Arab Spring took out the president Ben Ali in Tunisia. It took care of Mubarak, Hossein Mubarak, who was in Egypt, who had also been there for like almost 40 years. It took care of one of Africa's darlings, Kano Muammar Gaddafi. Remember that? And it also crossed over to Syria. The Syria one did not succeed, but it's only recently that uh, for former Syrian President Assad was ousted by the rebels. Some of those rebels who started the revolution in 2011. Now, a couple years, 13 years, actually 15 years later, we have another wave of protests or demonstrations across uh, North Africa, across Africa, and other parts of the world. These demonstrations, and uh, the most violent ones were, I think, were in 2016. 2016, unrest in the Rifa region, where protesters demanded justice and equality after many, many years of neglect. The government found itself walking a tightrope, maintaining order while trying to uphold its global image as a model of stability and economic growth, especially as it prepares to co-host the 2030 World Cup with Spain and Portugal. Now, this is important. The timing of these protests, the timing of these demonstrations could not have come at a better time. Morocco has been pouring a lot of money into modernizing the hotels, the cities, building state of the art stadiums. This is what a lot of people have been doing. So these state of the art stadiums, apparently, the government or the kingdom of Morocco has sunk a lot of money in it. But they forgot about the hospitals, the public hospitals, like the basics. When you hear about Morocco, you think it's as developed as probably the United States. But if we're all to remember what happened during COVID, even the United States or all these Western countries actually did very poorly because we thought they had it taken care of or figured it out. But when COVID hit, even the best of the best countries were struggling to keep up. So it's the same situation in Morocco here. People don't know where the money is going. Apparently, you go to hospitals, then there's no medicine, there are not enough doctors, and the infrastructure in some of these rural areas is very, very poor. Now, all this money that is being sunk into these stadiums, that's what has caused these young people to say, wait a minute, we are here. We are telling you we can't access uh, healthcare, or public hospitals are bad. Our roads, the infrastructure needs work. You guys are not doing that. You're just focusing on stadiums and uh, improving the tourism sites. So these young people are not going to sit back and take. So they are not happy about the current situation. And one could also argue that this is the first time the monarch, the absolute monarch in Morocco, is on its knees. It's been shaken by these protests. These protests could actually usher in a new change, bring in some kind of reform. Because, as you know, if it's an absolute monarch, everybody uh, is beholden to the whims of the king. Uh, it's only the king who has the power, the authority to do anything. So even if he appoints maybe a government, I don't think these young people are going to take that lightly. So we might see this thing spill over because, as you know, these absolute monarchs, everything, the backstops are the king. So, in my simple assessment, I think these young people are targeting the king. But who am I to judge? Anyhow, for those who are joining me, I was expected to be joined by a renowned journalist from Casablanca. He's having some kind of challenges joining the live broadcast. I wanted to bring me up to speed and give us some updates, but it looks like he's unable to connect. Maybe he has issues with the internet, and that's the other thing. That's the other thing. I think the kingdom, the monarch in Morocco should maybe look at some of this infrastructure. This is why people are demonstrating. Somebody is experiencing having bad internet connection. They can't join a live uh, a live chat like this because of poor infrastructure. So, what does that mean? It means that for sure these young people are not going to be uh, forced into retreat. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, this is the first time I've done something like this on Morocco. When you're doing live, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. So I set it up as a live feed. We've been postponing it because this guy was experiencing some difficulty trying to join me. Now, I just decided I'm talking off the cuff. So if you hear something, you can fact check me and send me some comments and let me know what you think, because this is an unfolding situation, and anything can happen, as because I'm live on air, so I don't know what's happening in the background, but anything could happen. So if I misrepresent anything or say something that is not factual, uh, let me know in the comments below, or just send me an email and tell me. I'll correct that. So let's continue. The government finds itself walking a tightrope here, maintaining order while trying to uphold its global image of stability and economic growth, especially as it prepares to host the 2030 FIFA World Cup with Spain and Portugal. This is huge. This is significant. Why? Because if these protests continue, this World Cup might not happen in Morocco. but I doubt it will get to that point where things are so bad that FIFA will cancel this tournament from happening. So let's pray for those football fans or soccer fans who are out there. Let's pray that this doesn't happen, and especially for those people who are maybe counting on going to Morocco to watch the games there because maybe they can't get visas to go to Spain and Portugal, uh, and they are from Africa or elsewhere. They can still catch up this game in on the African continent in Morocco. So Morocco has invested in infrastructure from high-speed trains and new highways to modern stadiums. Renewable energy projects are on the go. You drive for miles and miles, you see all these like solar panels. Uh, Everything is being prepared, you know, to make sure that when the World Cup comes to Morocco, the country is spotless. The country is like on the cutting edge of technology. So you have all those things at play. The country's economy has steadily grown. Poverty has been cut nearly in half, according to international agencies that have praised Morocco. As you remember, maybe a year ago or so, the IMF and the World Bank held their meetings in Morocco. It was fascinating to see some of these leaders from different places, finance ministers, hanging out in some of Moroccan cities. But let's not forget that at the end of the day, all that doesn't matter. What matters is what the perception young people have. They think that uh, the government or the kingdom, the monarch is very corrupt. Young people don't have jobs. There's massive unemployment. You have a lot of people who are not doing anything. The hospitals lack basics, just like any other hospital that you walk to in any country. I'll not mention names here, but those are some of the challenges. Now, for many young Moroccans, the progress feels distant. Unemployment among those aged 15 to 24 has soared up to 36%. 1 in 4 young people is not in school, is not working, or is not trained. The sense of exclusion runs deep, my friends. This is huge. So a powerful slogan has echoed through the protests. We want the World Cup. Health. No, actually, I think they say that we don't want the World Cup. Health first. We don't want the World Cup. Health first, right? It's a cry that captures the hearts of the frustrations in some of the coastal cities known for tourism. 8 women recently died of childbirth. In I think it was in one. I remember reading about it due to poor medical care, sparkling outrage, and becoming a rallying point for the demonstrators. The contrast between Morocco's glittering stadiums and the underfunded hospitals has become a symbol of inequality. While billions are being spent on the World Cup preparations, many communities struggle with unpaved roads, overcrowded classrooms, clinics without doctors. Many say that this moment feels like a generational reckoning. A youth uprising is not against Morocco's progress, but against being left out of it. Gen Z is saying we are not asking for miracles. We are just asking for opportunity, dignity, and a voice. They want to be heard. So if the king is listening, or if you happen to watch this, your people want to be heard. They want you to put some of their priorities on your agenda, not to ignore them. Because if you continue to ignore them, this might turn out to be something that you and other people might not like, especially if you're dealing with young people. They have absolutely nothing to lose. If they're willing to die for a cause, this is it. This is it. Officials initially banned rallies, but when the images of young people marching peacefully began to spread online, the tone shifted. Now there are calls for dialogue through skepticism, although skepticism remains high. Morocco's leadership, a critical test. How to respond to a generation that communicates in memes, organizes in group chats, and believes in action over patience. The country's future may depend on whether it can channel this energy into reform rather than repression. What's happening in Morocco is not just a national story. Let's pause for a moment. What's happening in Morocco is not just a national story. It is part of a global pattern. Look at Kenya, look at Nepal. I already talked about those countries. Look at young people rising for challenge to inequality, demanding accountability. Their voices are shaping the future of democracy in the digital era or in the digital age. Loud, restless, and impossible to ignore. As I watch these events unfold, one thing stands out. This is not just about protest, it's about participation. Morocco's young generation is stepping forward to reclaim its place in the nation's story, determined not to turn frustration into change, but they are going to do whatever it takes to get what they want. Watch this space. Well, unfortunately, my guest couldn't join for this live broadcast. So I've given my fair share, my rant. I guess I will leave it there and look forward to maybe keeping this conversation going. Thank you so much for being with me. And I look forward to, you know, to engaging you some more. And of course, we want to know what you think about the wave of youth-led protests that have grappled uh, the North African nation of Morocco for more than a week, from Casablanca to Marrakesh to Rabat, and thousands and thousands of people, mainly Gen Z, have taken to the streets demanding for jobs, accountability, and better living conditions. Share your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. And of course, don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to Paul Ndiho on Substack, X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, YouTube, and Spotify. That's it. Uh, Talk to you soon. See you soon. Bye for now.